Students, Mr. Francavella here. Our topic for today in lesson 9, I think it is phrases. And distinguishing, identifying verbal phrases, especially, and other phrases too. So identifying the new phrase types that we've learned about and writing them. So I'm going to talk about the bear, imitating William Faulkner's The Bear, the style of his writing. So here I have 4 sentences with underlined portions, and I want to do that so that I can show you the wrong thinking that some people might engage in, and they might identify something that looks like a prepositional phrase, but it isn't. All right? So only one of these 4 has a prepositional phrase. If you can identify it, which one? It's this one. A prepositional phrase is, this one is an adverb. They can be an adjective or an adverb. This one is an adverb modifying the verb. Where went? Where did you go? Okay, where went? To the library. Starts with a preposition, ends with the object of a preposition. But all the rest might look like prepositions or prepositional phrases, but they're not. This one, why not? It has 2, just like this. However, it's 2 plus a verb. It is a phrase, but it's an infinitive phrase, right? So it starts with the infinitive and ends with the object of the infinitive. But it's not prepositional. Right here, this verb, actually the first 2 words are a verb, so the first part of the underlined portion really shouldn't be, this is not the group that it should go with. Filled up is like the verb throw up. The 2 words go together. It's called a phrasal verb. And we need the 2 parts to be the one verb. So this is the direct object of this verb, this action verb. So, these really don't go together, these words, to make their own meaningful unit. He turned the boat around. Around is an adverb, which a preposition can be, but we really don't talk much about preposition. We don't call it a preposition unless it's initiating a phrase. So around could be a beginning of a prepositional phrase. It could be a preposition, but here it's just an adverb. Okay. Modifying the verb. Which of the following is a participial phrase? So we know that we have present and past participles. We do have a past participle here and here. And we have present participles, they could be present participles here. But to be a participial phrase, it has to be acting like an adjective. And only one of these constitute that. Which one is it? It's this one. Risen in the sky. Today the sun rises. Yesterday it rose, and it has risen. The past participle form of a verb is the one that follows have, has, or had, which this would be the form of that. So it is a past participle, beginning a phrase, ending with a prepositional phrase. Remember, our verbal phrases are comprised of the initial word, or sometimes an adverb, but the initial word being the infinitive, gerund, or participle, then followed by some words or actually prepositional phrases can be in the verbal phrase. So this is our only participial phrase. What are these? Well, if it's not a participle, it's a gerund. It's the object of the preposition. This gerund phrase is the object of that preposition. Right? And so we have a preposition. What follows it? An object. Nouns are objects. This is a gerund then, because it's not acting like an adjective. And the other 2, all right, this one and this one, the verb form, the present participle here and the past participle here, are part of the verb phrase. We have 2 complex verb tenses, and they can be combined to make another complex verb tense. They're either the progressive tense or the perfect tenses. The progressive tenses or the perfect tenses. Progressive tenses have a form of be plus a present participle, which this does. And so helping verb, past participle, and a present participle all go together to make that verb tense. This is called the perfect progressive tense, and technically present perfect progressive tense. This, anytime you have, you have a perfect tense. It's called, this one is the present perfect, and that's the past participle. So we have a verb plus the past participle. That makes the verb tense, or the verb phrase. So this is not acting as a verbal, but acting like a verb here, right? We know this already. I'm not going to spend much time on this, but all gerund phrases, they're all the same wording. This one is a predicate nominative because it follows a linking verb. This one is the object of the preposition from. This one is the subject, precedes the verb. And this one follows the action verb, so it's a direct object. Easy. So, your assignment for today is to write in the style of William Faulkner, who wrote, he won the Nobel Prize in the 1950s for literature. His style, his sentences were very elaborate, very lengthy, which matched the content of his writing, which was fairly moral laden, so kind of a heavy, weighty topic, made for a heavy, weighty sentence. So he had very long sentences, and this one is what you're going to write like. You're going to begin. He had listened to it for years. That's an independent clause. All right, and then all of the middle, and then it ends with through which sped, not fast, the shaggy, tremendous shape. This is one sentence. It ends with a noun, which is the subject of the subordinate clause. So we start with an independent clause. He had listened to it for years. And then we have shape, ending our subordinate clause. But what's the verb in our subordinate clause? Sped. All right? Shape, sped. It's inverted. Right? So, but how is the sentence lengthened between those clauses? By, and I put them in parentheses, which hopefully you can see on Edmodo. They're just either single participles, past or present. Actually, mostly past, but he has some present. And they're modifying the nouns that they're next to. Rifled modifies corn cribs. Grown modifies pigs. Blown through a tube by a boy is a past participle with through a tube, which is a prepositional phrase, and by a boy another prepositional phrase. But the whole thing is the past participial phrase modifying peas, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to write a long sentence with at least 8, hopefully, participial phrases, past and or present, lengthening the sentence. So I wrote one, part of one. To give you an example, it just honestly only took a couple minutes to write this. And it's really not complete. I didn't write as many, but I wanted to give you like a show of how I would start this. I want you to keep a tone like William Faulkner, an ominous tone. How did he do it? He didn't name what he was writing about, right? He had it, I put its, right? A possessive pronoun. And he ended with shaggy, tremendous shape. He never named the bear, it was. So he kept it obscure. So I start with a clause, an independent clause. He had noticed it's approaching for minutes now. Colon, just like he did, but, in my own way. At first, just a slightly muffled rhythm emerging subtly from without, but then becoming unmistakably clearer through a few floors below, and then a pause followed by coughs and sputters vociferously emanating, gutturally projected from some esophageal tract, human or otherwise. I know it's hard to take that in, but I want you to underline the participial phrases or single participles, if that's all there are. So Muffled is my past participle, and I put an adverb with it to make a phrase. Modifies rhythm. Emerging subtly from without. Emerging is my participle with an adverb with a prepositional phrase after, goes back to rhythm. Same here, it's another participial phrase going back to rhythm. Pause is modified by a past participial phrase. And then I have a present participial phrase right here, these two words. And then I have an adverb before my participle here in this new participial phrase, which is the longest one. All right, so what didn't I do? I did not put a subject in verb again in there. You cannot put another subject in verb. At first, it was just, you couldn't put it was. You can't have a subject in a verb. You can't have, but then it became, but then becoming. So when you write it, if you find you should revise it, if you think you did it incorrectly, take out all those nouns that are before the ing. Like sometimes you could have an ing verb after a noun if it was in a verb phrase, she was becoming. But, you know, look back. Do you have a subject before the, and is your ing part of a verb phrase? Make sure it isn't. Here, now right here, listen to this. A pause followed. That could be a subject in a verb, but it isn't here. This modifies pause, right? If I were writing in the past tense, I am, but this could be a subject and verb, but you can see that this one is not. A pause was followed was probably what I would write. And then I would have a verb phrase, right? So I don't want that. So make sure you don't have a subject and a verb, but you just have verbals, participles. Okay, so I think you can do that and enjoy the process. Thank you.